On this problem, what we're going to find is a very interesting situation where when we work our process, we're going to end up getting a factored form where the numerator, is going to have a remaining value that we can set equal to 0 that will actually point us back to our point of discontinuity. Okay, so let's walk through the process and see what happens. So we've got this 3x plus 30. We're supposed to do step 0, factor out a 3, and we get x plus 10. So we set that equal to 0 to identify our point of discontinuity as x equals negative 10. And so right here, we're going to say the domain is all real numbers except x can't be negative 10. So then we continue on down our path by factoring the numerator. The numerator is a perfect square trinomial where when I factor this using the x, I'm going to get x plus 10 times x plus 10, and ultimately that turns into x plus 10 squared. Now I didn't do the x, I didn't write the x, I actually identified that it was a square here and that the square root of 100 is 10 and 10 doubled is 20 and that this is a square here. So I was looking at the perfect square trinomial, but if you want to do the x, you have 100 on top, 20 on the bottom, then you have 10 and 10 there, and that produces your factors. Anyway, all that to say, when I reduce the function, check this out. This is unique. The x plus 10, one of them reduces with one of these on top. There's still an x plus 10 in my reduced version. So my function, when I reduce it, is x plus 10 over 3. So I have to be very careful now because when I go to do step 4, I'm going to set the remaining numerator equal to 0. So I was trying to mostly save us from this issue, but it still happens on occasion like this one, where when I set the x plus 10 equal to 0 and solve, I get x equals negative 10 as my result. But negative 10 was defined by us to be a point of discontinuity. So even though my result was negative 10 is my x-intercept, it's actually not. X-intercepts there are no x-intercepts on this problem because the one that I got algebraically is a whole because it factored out even though it was and is still a point of discontinuity. So where I thought there was going to be an x-intercept is actually going to be a whole. So when I go to the x-axis at negative 10, you would have a whole. So it's kind of like saying if I plugged in my point of discontinuity to see what the y height was, the whole would be negative 10 comma 0. There is a whole there rather than an x-intercept, not an x-intercept.